Today I'm going to show you a full body mobility routine that you can go through daily to help make your body more resilient to injury. Before we get into this video, I'm really active on Instagram nowadays, so make sure you go check out my Instagram channel over here. And I upload tons of content like this, corrective exercises for posture. So if you haven't yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and do that. Other than that, let's get started with the exercises. What's going on, everybody? How you doing? It's Blake Bowman here with GuerrillaZen Fitness, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you a full body mobility routine that you can use every single day to help make your body more resilient to injury. Before we actually get into the mobility exercises, there's something really important that you need to understand. Contrary to popular thought, it is not the stiff areas in the body that are typically injured or predisposed to injury. It's the areas directly above and below the stiff areas. This is all based on what's called the joint by joint theory by physical therapist Gray Cook, which I've talked about in many of my past videos. But basically, this theory describes the relationship that one set of joints has immediately to the joints above it and below it. Typically, when one area becomes restricted and you start to lose mobility there, your body is going to give extra mobility, which can become instability to the joints directly above it and below it, all right? So with those joints that are already unstable, we don't want to be mobilizing those more because that will just create more instability. What we have to do is identify the joints that are stiff and mobilize those ones only. Today's mobility routine is not custom built for you, but what we are doing in this routine is targeting the most commonly stiff and restricted joints that are creating an environment in your body that's making you more predisposed to injury in your neck, in your low back, in your knees. And we're targeting the areas around these regions that are typically stiff and restricted with the mobility exercises. All right, so with no further talking, let's get into the mobilizations. All you're gonna need for these mobilizations are your body weight and a foam roller, all right? So we're gonna just go ahead and kick it off right now. The first joint that we're gonna start mobilizing is the ankles, all right? Oftentimes when the ankles are stiff and they're missing dorsiflexion, which is the capacity to pull the toes up towards the shin, this creates a lot of different knee instability issues. The ankles are one area where pretty much everybody should be focusing on in terms of their mobility practice because a lot of people are restricted there, including myself. The best way to mobilize a joint is to remember the phrase motion is lotion, right? To get more mobility in a joint, we just need to take it in and out of the range of motion that we're trying to acquire. So the first thing I'm going to show you is just a really basic ankle mobilization. You're going to keep your heel planted. It doesn't matter what this leg is doing, just kind of keep it out of the way. Keeping your heel planted, what you're going to do is you're going to drive your knee forward in front of the toes, all right? And that's it, all right? We're just gonna scissor in and out of this range of motion here. If you want, you can put your toes up to a wall, and then you can push your knee into the wall. Whatever you wanna do. I like just doing it standing. We're gonna do 10 straight forward, all right? And that's pretty much it. We're gonna do the other side as well. Same thing on this side, 10 reps too. And again, it's not very complicated. You're just keeping the heel planted and you're forcing that ankle to dorsiflex, okay? Which means you're bending it up, bringing the toes up towards the shin bone, right? It's not too challenging. If you want to experiment with different angles, you can kind of go out a little bit at this angle, do a couple reps like that, a couple reps straight forward, a couple reps kind of out over your pinky toe. Whatever you want to do, it's up to you. The important thing to remember is with this, we want to be doing at least 10 reps of dorsiflexions on each side. The next thing that we're going to get into is going to be the calves, all right? The calves are likely going to be tight and restricted in tandem with whatever mobility ankle issues you have going on in your ankles. So a really easy and effective way to stretch the calves, put a foam roller down, prop your toes up on it like this, hopefully it doesn't slide around on me, and then try to get that other foot in front, or at least level with the other foot, all right? And that's it. We're basically just gonna hold this for around 30 seconds each side. So the toes are propped up on a roller. You're trying to get that ankle to dorsiflex as much as you can, trying to pull the toes up towards the shin. Ideally, you would step this foot in front of the foam roller out there, right? And you would maintain that position. However, my foam roller feels like it's going to slide around a lot if I do that, so I'm just going to keep my foot here. The whole idea here is to produce as much of a stretch in the calves as we can, all right? So we're going to work the other side now. Same thing, 30 seconds on this side as well. And we're going to step that foot forward, really get that ankle to dorsiflex. You should feel a deep stretch coming up your calves, all right? Specifically on the side that we're stretching. But yeah, play around with the angles. Really try to open up that calf. Just remember, if you have knee issues, working on the range of motion of the ankle is almost always going to help benefit your knees by helping to create more stability there. Because we're getting rid of the stiffness and the rigidity in the ankle, which is likely contributing to the instability of your knee and subsequently whatever knee issues you're dealing with. We're now going to bring our attention up to the hips, right? And what we're going to work on here is the capacity for us to internally rotate the femur, to bring it in towards the midline, all right? The easiest way to do this is to sit like this, right? Drop one knee down while the other leg goes up. You're externally rotating this leg, right? And you're internally rotating this leg. And that's it. We're going to do about 15 of these. Side to side is 1. So we're going to just keep doing this. This is working on, you know, the rotational capacity of your hips, which a lot of people are restricted in. Most people can't fully internally rotate their hip like this, all right? If this hurts when you're doing this, don't do it. Really reduce the range of motion, and do not press yourself beyond the range of motion that your body is capable of when you're doing this. Let the motion do the work. Over time, this will get easier and easier, and you're not going to ever have to force anything, all right? You should never be doing that with a joint mobilization. It's not a stretch. It's not something that you really push yourself hard into. Like I said, it's the motion that lubricates a joint and enhances the mobility over time. So it's all about reps and volume when you're doing this, not how hard you're forcing your joint into the range of motion that you don't have. Just kind of let it happen passively almost and do a lot of reps, okay? For this, we're shooting for at least 15 reps each side. Now we're going to move into hip extension with a little bit of glute priming. In tandem with missing internal rotation of the hips, another common thing is people are missing extension of the hips, right? Which is your capacity to take that leg back behind you, like this. This is hip extension. So what we're going to do, classic hip flexor stretch, get in this position, kneeling, hands on the knee here. Kind of posteriorly tilt your pelvis, which means kind of tuck it underneath you like that. Try to pull the backside down. Squeeze the glute really hard on that side. Push the hips forward. We're going to do 15 of these each side. All right? 3, 4. You're squeezing your glute hard. 5. Each time you kind of rock your hips forward. 6. And you're maintaining a flat low back. 7. 8. Squeezing the glute on this side the whole time. 9. Almost propelling your hips forwards with that glute. 10, keeping the core tight as well. 11, 12, squeezing the glute hard. 13, the harder you squeeze your glute, the more you're going to feel this in the front of the hip, which is what we're trying to open up here. All right, perfect. Same thing on the other side. 15 reps here. Same position. Really, this is an opportunity for you to not only work on the hip extension and help to restore that to optimal, but it's an opportunity for you to work on contracting your glutes and building that mind-muscle connection with your glutes, all right? Which is very advantageous as well. It's one of the most common muscle imbalances we see too, is poor glute activation. So not only are we working on that hip mobility with this, we're also working on firing and activating that glute, helping to develop that mind-muscle connection with the glute so that when we work out, the glutes are actually firing and doing their job. I have no idea how many reps we're at. I think that was about 15, and that's what we're going for on each side for this. All right, now we're gonna whip out the foam roller to kind of finish off this routine here, all right? Another common area where people are restricted is the thoracic spine, your upper back. The segment of the spine that begins at the base of the neck and goes to about your solar plexus, right here, all right? That segment of the spine, oftentimes very restricted and tight, and that's why neck, shoulders, and low back issues are so common, right? Lots of people are tight in this region, and in accordance with the joint-by-joint theory, the areas that are going to be predisposed to injury as a result of the upper back being stiff and rigid are the neck, the shoulders, and the low back. It's part of the reason why injuries there are so common, yet injuries in the thoracic spine, like serious spinal issues, like disc herniations, bulges, stuff like that, it's fairly uncommon for people to experience that in the upper back, but it is very common for them to experience it in the neck and the low back. And part of that reason is because the upper back is stiff. So what we're gonna do with this foam roller, you're gonna put your back on it, okay, just your upper back, and we're gonna do some thoracic extensions. We're gonna work on the capacity to extend the upper back, basically cause it to arch, and then we're gonna come back up. This is it, all right? Motion is lotion. We're using the foam roller here as a fulcrum to get the spine to bend over. And that's really all that you're thinking about doing here right now with the foam roller. We're not using it to release tight muscles, okay? We're not rolling up and down like this. We're using it to get the spine to bend and extend over, all right? What I encourage you to do is kind of start closer to the base of the thoracic spine, kind of where the roller is right about now. Do 1 or 2 reps here, and then scooch down so it's a little bit higher up the thoracic spine. Do a couple more reps here, scooch down again so it moves up even further. A couple reps here as well, and just keep moving up. Make sure you get the entire thoracic spine when you're doing this. Again, motion is lotion, right? You're not forcing your body over this thing, you're just kind of letting gravity do the work. You're supporting your head at the same time. You're not yanking on the head, but just supporting it, okay? One thing that I'll tell you about right now, which almost everybody does when I teach them this, and it's not correct. They put the roller on their low back, okay? Never, 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 never start with it this low, all right? Always err on the side of caution and start it up too high rather than going down too low. And the reason for that is if you put it on your low back and you're making this motion while you have it down here on your low back, okay, now you're gonna be adding more issues potentially to your body. You're mobilizing the low back, which is an area we typically need to stabilize, and yeah, that's just really not good for the low back. So this is for the upper back specifically. Never ever do this on the low back. Always err on the side of caution. If you're like, oh, maybe I'm starting too low, move it up another inch or 2 higher, because you never want to be mobilizing the low back in this way for the general population, because that's an area that's already unstable typically in the general population. Doing this will make that worse. We're trying to mobilize the upper back, not the low back. The last thing that we're going to finish with here is some thoracic rotations, all right? We just worked on the capacity of the thoracic spine to bend and extend like this. Now we got to work on its capacity to twist, to rotate. And I showed this in one of my YouTube shorts last week or whenever I uploaded that. Very easy to mobilize the thoracic spine with regards to rotation, and you're going to start in this position right here, tabletop position. This is called thread the needle. People call it all sorts of different things. Take one arm, put it underneath the arm that's still supporting you, and strive to touch that ear to the ground. But yeah, for this, we're going to do at least 10 on each side. Just trying to get that upper back nice and mobile. So 20 total, 10 each side. And it's a pretty simple movement. What we're just trying to do here is get the spine to rotate. I've showed this in many videos in the past, but that's pretty much it. This routine today targeted the ankles, the hips, and the upper back, the most commonly restricted joints in the body, right? And there's a reason why these areas don't really give you issues, and that's the joint by joint theory that I was talking about, right? These areas are commonly stiff, rarely are they, injured due to overuse and poor biomechanics like that and stuff like that. It's the structures above these joints, in between these joints, specifically the knees, the low back, the neck and the shoulders. These are all the areas that are predisposed to injury, and these are the areas that we helped to structurally support today by working on the mobility and the range of motion of the ankles, the hips, and the upper back. I really hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you have, then you're probably really going to enjoy my 3-day functional training split as well. Basically, this is a 3-day functional workout plan that I created to help you improve your posture, your joint mobility, and your biomechanics while you're getting stronger and leaner, right? So it's a free workout. It's available on my website. All you have to do is open up the description down below, click the first link available there. That will take you over to my website where I'll ask you for your email. As soon as you enter in your email, I'll send you that workout within 5 minutes. If you're looking for another place to get that workout, you can click this right up here. All right, that will take you over there as well. If you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you go ahead and do that over there. And if you want to see another video similar to this one, check this out over here. That's it for today. We'll see you next time.